Weekly status. A summary of the most important geopolitical, war and military events that took place in the last week. Following a call with India's Prime Minister Modi, US President Trump announced that the US and India reached an agreement on a new trade deal. According to Trump, India agreed to stop buying oil from Russia. This will help end the war in Ukraine, Trump underscored. Russia conducted another large-scale aerial attack on Ukraine using ballistic and cruise missiles, Geraint-type long-range strike drones, as well as Tornado-S guided munitions. Among the cities that came under bombardment was Kyiv, Dnipro and Kharkiv. Some of these strikes targeted Ukraine's energy infrastructure. Just a few hours after the Russian attack, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte visited Kyiv to meet with Ukrainian President Zelensky. As the negotiation process between US and Iran appeared to have been accelerating, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian officially announced that Tehran agreed to resume nuclear talks with the US on the condition that such negotiations will be free from threats and unreasonable expectations. But a day that has initially given hope for a diplomatic settlement quickly turned into a day of renewed tensions. At first, the reports came that Iranian officials demanded change to the venue and format for negotiations with the US, and even threatened to withdraw from the talks. Then, Iranian gunboats approached a US-owned Stena Imperative oil tanker in the Strait of Hormuz and ordered the vessel to stop. But the ship increased its speed and maintained course, coming under escort of the USS McFall Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer. And as a cherry on the top, US Navy's F-35C Lightning II fighter jet shot down an Iranian Shahed 139 UAV that reportedly approached the USS Abraham Lincoln carrier strike group in the Arabian Sea. The commander of the US African Command, General Dogvin Anderson, announced that the US military deployed a small team of troops to Nigeria to combat the terrorist threat in West Africa. The development marked the first known dispatch of US forces on the ground in Nigeria. Further details about the size and scope of their mission were not provided. Another round of talks on the settlement of Russia-Ukraine war took place in Abu Dhabi. The negotiations were brokered by the United States. No breakthrough or significant progress was noted. Wednesday was a day of a real roller coaster in regards to the negotiation process between US and Iran. The American side said that any talks with Iran should include Iran's ballistic missile program, its Middle Eastern proxies, and other additional matters. The Iranians said that this is off the table and any initial negotiations should concern only the nuclear issue. The Americans said, okay, so we are not negotiating then, and the plans for talks appeared to be collapsing. But after Middle Eastern countries intervened and asked the United States to hold a meeting with Iranians, Washington agreed, and the talks were scheduled to take place in Muscat, Oman, on Friday. US-European Command informed that the United States and Russia agreed to re-establish a bilateral, high-level, military-to-military dialogue. This channel of communication was suspended in the fall of 2021, just a few months before the full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine. Following its restoration, the channel is set to provide a constant contact between high-level Russian and American military officials. Widespread reports started coming from the Russian side of the frontline in Ukraine that Russian troops have been cut off from access to SpaceX Starlink terminals, causing them severe problems with C3 operations. The extensive access interruption occurred after SpaceX and Ukrainian authorities have stepped up cooperation on the issue of Starlink antennas being employed by the Russian military. The deputy head of the Russian military intelligence, Lieutenant General Vladimir Alexeyev, has been shot multiple times in a residential block in Moscow. He was taken to a hospital in critical condition and fell in a coma but regained consciousness following a surgery, according to Russian media reports. Russian authorities blamed Ukraine for the attempted assassination. The Islamic State claimed responsibility for a terrorist attack at a Shiite Muslim mosque in the capital of Pakistan, Islamabad. An attacker opened fire and set off a suicide bomb at the gates of the mosque, killing at least 31 and wounding over 170 people. Iran and US held talks in Oman on the issue of Iranian nuclear program. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi described the first round of negotiations as a good start. Russian forces carried out another large-scale aerial attack on Ukraine's energy system, reportedly launching over 400 drones and 40 missiles. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi ruled out that Iran would ever give up uranium enrichment in its negotiations with the Americans, insisting it will not be intimidated by the threat of war with the United States. And here's a bonus of the week. An F-16 fighter jet operated by the Ukrainian Air Force shots down a Russian Garand-type long-range strike drone with its M61 Vulcan 20mm autocannon.
Крутяк! Хлопці молодці!
List of the sources is in the description. Thank you for watching, bye for now.